Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome back to another edition of Track Walk in MX Simulator, where today we're going to be playing the Squid Squad Compound. It's actually called the Vlast MX Squid Squad Compound by Seth Garrett, or J-Rife on the forums actually posted for Seth Garrett. This is a kind of old track. I think it's like 3.5, almost 4 years old now. And it's just one of those things I've been kind of digging through the forums, trying to pick up some old tracks that I missed. There's a bunch of new tracks that I still want to get to and talk about and play a little bit. But this is one of those tracks that I definitely did miss. A lot of fun value to it. Very much kind of like the old school FamMX tracks vibe to me a little bit with this track. But there's a big motocross track, which we're kind of hovering over right now. There's a couple of these little like trail tracks that have like a bunch of road used, I think, to build them. There's an Arenacross track over here, a little tiny one. And then all the way on the other side of the map as we go back over kind of these little small trail tracks, the big national track. There's a Supercross track that's kind of built into like a hillside a little bit. It's not a flat track whatsoever. Pretty much the entire track has a little bit of an up and down feel to it. And it's a Supercross track because it has like rhythm sections and whoops. But there's also like some sections where it's just doubles and yeah, it doesn't really look too much like a Supercross track. But it's a good mix of stuff. Another little kind of trail track over here. We're going to check it all out today. So let's go ahead and jump back in. And we're going to go off the gate here on the motocross track to start things off. We'll just hop the gate because I'm not going to wait here all day. But this track is very much, like I said, kind of wide open, fast, flowy, very similar to the FamMX tracks that Blake Scheinman used to make. And I'm trying to remember if and when was the last time I've done a Seth Garrett track. He's definitely posted a couple things recently. I think I did Phil's Rhythm was a track that I did recently for a track walk. Not too recently, but one of my more recent track walk videos in Sim at least. And I believe that was a Seth Garrett track. Could be wrong. But yeah, so what I'm trying to get at is I think that this is kind of a bit of a stereotypical build for Seth Garrett as well, with the more like wide open feel that he has here. Big jumps, fast flowy sections. What I like about this track, and for the most part tracks that I've seen him build before, is he definitely makes sections that are a little outside of the box. Like you wouldn't kind of expect it to go the way it ends up going or feel the way it does, but it definitely has a really fun feel to it. Like almost to a degree, these tracks feel like really overscaled Supercross tracks kind of, because they just have like a rhythm about them. Not that you can really do anything different on them. Like you can't change up your rhythm lane necessarily. You're just still going to be hitting the same jumps like you would on the motocross track. But they're very jumpy, even though they're built into some hillsides and stuff like that. It's a lot of jumps, like this little scrubber into kind of this double that feels a little bit like a Supercross finish line jump, and then like this uphill triple that lands onto a plateau. Again, just kind of feels like Supercrossy a little bit to me. Not a bad thing. Like I totally think that it fits the vibe of the track because it's so wide open and fast that you need a lot of these jumps to kind of like break up the speeds of it a little bit and kind of create a different vibe and flow from section to section. Otherwise, you're just going to be going really fast. Like I feel like even still I get into fifth gear quite a bit on this track, and I'm not trying to. Like I'm just, that's how much speed needs to be carried from section to section. Like this downhill, for example, like you're just going so fast down it that fifth gear really is kind of like the most viable option. But we'll go to the inside right here, and you pop out of this little step up right here, and then this jump is quite a bit of fun as well, but it's actually kind of hard to get. Like you got to pop really high over the top of this hill, and then you float down the backside of it. Like it just feels like you're in the air forever on that jump. Get down to the inside, little inside, middle, outside option ruts, then a big floater tabletop back over the hill the other direction. So this stuff is more like, I guess, kind of motocrossy in the sense that it just goes like over a hill, over a rise or a jump, and then down into a turn. But then, yeah, come out of it, little rollers, and then here's a finish line jump, which is this massive double down the hill. Definitely something that if you're not paying enough attention, you can over jump it quite easy. And then we come out of this corner, and one last jump before we hit the start straight again. That could be the finish line jump right there as well if you wanted to change it up. We got a little kind of chicane, and then back through this first section again. So really fast, wide open track. Definitely can be a little bit challenging to time everything because of how big all the jumps are. Like went a little bit long right there, so then shorted the next jump as we kind of wiggle into the corner. But a fun enough track that like it breaks up the flow in some regards. from straightaway to straightaway with the way that he's laid out the jumps, so that you're not going way too fast. But then, you know, the way that he kind of arcs stuff into corners, the way that he flows sections together, it's pretty nice. Like if you look at the track map in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, I think you'd be inclined to think that it's very like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, because there's not a whole lot of like sharp turns, I guess. Or not sharp turns, I guess the slow turns would be the way to put it, because the sharp turns, even though they're U-turns, they're still pretty fast because there's pretty big ruts in them, and there's not a lot of like short straight into a little like corkscrew turn or something like that. It's all pretty wide open and fast, which can be a little bit daunting or hard to get used to, I guess, if you're not comfortable going these high speeds and like correcting yourself in the air. Like definitely if you're a pretty new player to the game and you're trying to play this track for the first time, you're going to double whip a lot of these jumps just because they're so big and you're in the air for so long. They're going to toss a whip out that you think, oh, I just need to like throw it out there and it'll come back quick, and then it'll start coming back, and then you'll need to keep it kind of floating out there so you don't come too far back. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you'll just double whip a lot. It's just the nature of these big jumps, just the way it goes. But a very fun motocross track. I don't have any real problems with the way that he's laid stuff out. Nothing sticks out like a real sore thumb as like that's kind of weird that he included this section or whatever. Like everything flows together pretty nicely. Everything has a fun, unique value to it. And each jump, I feel like to a degree, is kind of different in every straightaway. It doesn't feel like you're like, oh yeah, here's another one of these doubles or tabletops or whatever, like this big floater tabletop. That's the only one on the track that's like straight up and down like that, basically. There's a little step up kind of that's out of a sharp corner on the other side of the track, but again, it's a step up, not so much of a tabletop. You got these rollers up this hill, come flying down this hill into this big finish line jump. Like, again, just kind of unique feel to a lot of the stuff on the track. So, yeah, overall, well-built track, very fun. Definitely a track that, man, you could just load it up in a server with your buddies and totally vibe on this track. Do a lot of fun big air jumps and stuff like that. So, let's take a look at a couple other things on this track. I'm going to go over to this little kind of turn track thing, I guess you'd call it. It seems to me like this was like he laid either a couple small ruts out or maybe just like a couple bigger berms or something like that, and then just did like in a road test or something like that, because the way that the chop is formed on this is very erode-y looking, where it just kind of appears in random spots and doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason to it. Perhaps he laid this down on purpose. Maybe he, laid down some bumps and then smoothed them and laid down more bumps and smoothed them until he had this type of surface, but it just seems like really bumpy and kind of awkward, and honestly not a very fun track to play, just because it's really hard to know like how the bumps are going to react to stuff and whatever. But what I will say that this track does for any of you players out there trying to learn some skills is it's really good test for like patience in ruts and throttle control, because these bumps are like just big enough that they'll annoy you and throw you around, but they're also just small enough that like if you break loose with traction a little bit, it'll throw you sideways quick. So yeah, if you have like little chatter bumps, that's really going to hurt you when it comes to trying to get that rear wheel traction planted. But on those little single tracks, it's just really good to kind of practice throttle control and a couple other things and techniques like that. But we'll move on from that onto basically the other main track on the compound. There's obviously the Arenacross track and the other little trail track over there. But the Supercross and the Motocross track are the two like key features of this compound for sure. Obviously the Motocross track takes up way more space, but I feel like the Supercross track could definitely like live on its own as like a fun little Supercrossy track that's almost like kind of got like some local cross track feel to it to a degree. There's a lot of local cross races in Sim back in like 12, 13, 14 that every year there's like a local cross series. Doesn't happen that much anymore. Like there's still some that happen, but definitely was more of these like kind of like jumpier little fair race style tracks. Could be built on a hillside, could be built on like a fairground or whatever in the game. But then we'd have these races and we'd have amateur races and a bunch of different classes and stuff like that. And it was a good way to get new players involved in the game. But man, we just don't really do that much anymore of those types of events. It's very much like the pro series or bust. Even for the amateur stuff, like even if you race the amateur scene, you either race the pro tracks or you race nothing. So kind of wish we did some of these local cross events still, every now and again at least. But this Supercross track, like I said, it is a Supercross track, but it does feel a little bit, maybe overscaled versus a normal Supercross track, which then makes it feel a little bit more elongated and spread out like some of the national track stuff. And in my opinion, kind of makes it easier to learn. Again, if you're newer to the game, you're trying to pick up on some things with Supercross, and you're a little bit maybe struggling with whoops or struggling with timing and stuff like that. This is a good track for that, because I feel like it does still have those similar elements to Supercross track, but maybe a little bit more toned down, even though it's bigger and more spread out. Like, it's toned down in the fact that you don't have to triple out of a corner and then really quickly think about something else. There's like one rhythm section on the track that kind of makes you do that, but the rest of the track is pretty like low-key, flowy stuff. Obviously a couple set of whoops that'll give you a good little practice on setting up for them and hitting them straight and making sure you're in the right RPM range and hitting the plateau of the whoop correctly and stuff like that. A couple different option lines, but a lot of on-offs included on the Supercross track. I don't mind that at all. I think the on-offs are a fun little feature, especially this one where you're kind of like platforming in this little back straightaway. Oh man, tipped over right there. Front end just kind of barely went over the rut. So I can show you the option line here from the outside. The inside, hit the first lap, hit the definite main line there, but this one you could double in, triple onto the table, step off, and then triple this right here. Pretty hard to get that one. Then double into the corner, and I'll try to get the alternate option line here at the end of the lap. I'm going to do 3 laps on the Supercross track. Try to get over to the other 2 tracks in this compound so we don't spend too much time in a video here today. But yeah, good little fun, flowy Supercross track. Good, kind of like unique vibes to it for sure, where it's hilly, it's spread out, it's not your stereotypical like Supercrossy test track vibe. And it's got a lot of fun factor for that. Like I said, this whole compound feels very Famimex, Blake Scheiman vibe-ish to me, which is good because a lot of people like those tracks. A lot of people miss Blake making tracks. So cool to see that to a degree there's still some people that kind of hit that niche a little bit every now and again. I know Seth Garrett does still post some tracks from time to time. So yeah, good on him to tackle something that people definitely kind of miss from the game for sure. And do a pretty good job building them as well. Oh, we're good. So let's try to get that alternate rhythm line down this back section knocked out. And we'll go check out the other 2 tracks, like I said. One more like a road-built trail-ish track, and then a really tiny little Arenacross track. But we'll check those 2 out and then have ourselves a little bit of a day. So this other option to the outside is you triple in, and we're just going to come up short. Let's see if we can still continue. No, but you would triple in, step on, step off, and then it's much easier to triple double up to this corner right here. So we kind of messed it up. It's okay. Got pretty close, but just missed out. And then this big triple back down the hill. That's maybe like my favorite jump on this whole Supercross track, is that downhill triple, just because it's got a good lip and it's very Supercross triple-ish. But it's very forgiving in that you could go pretty long on it and still land on the downside of something to a degree. So yeah, pretty fun jump. All right, let's go ahead and check out the final 2 tracks over here. We'll start off with a road track number 2, I guess is what you'd call it. And this one, unlike the other one, much jumpier, much like, I don't know, harder, I guess would be the right word too, because the ruts are really huge, really hard to get into. And then he included a couple like hip jumps and gap doubles actually on this track, which if you don't have like enough speed going at all, you're just going to case it and go down every single time. But this little section right here, definitely really tough to kind of get the right speed and angle through these ruts. There's that little hip jump I was talking about, but look at how big these ruts are. This totally feels like in a road built track, to me at least. And definitely not going to get enough speed for this double now, but you can see like come out of that corner and somehow try to clear that double. And then we're going to come down to this corner, go through this section, and I think I'm going to have no speed up the top of the hill. Oh, just going to short it a little bit. That's a really big gap. Like, you have to be on your A game coming through that corner, I think, to get it right, for sure. Let's try to get one more lap where I at least clear both of those jumps as we navigate ourselves through the rough stuff here. Very interesting to try to jump between Supercross and this though too, because then you get used to like the flow and the feel of a Supercross track, and then you come to whatever this is, and this is the opposite of a Supercross track. It's bumpy, it's hard to get a good traction. Still, I'm not going to get all the way over this jump, but at least it's a little bit softer on the landing. All right, let's try to get this jump right here. There we go. just going to pop over and still go down because I landed on a really big bump in the landing. But definitely, I think that he built that whole track with a road. I think he laid down a couple jumpy sections and then probably put a road on like 40 or 50 or something big, and then just, yeah, did like 3 or 4 laps and dug a bunch of stuff out and then said that's a track. At least to me, that's what it feels like. I've built some road tracks before, and those all feel exactly the same. So, could be wrong though, but we'll see. All right, final track, Arenacross track. Much more your very typical tight Supercrossy scale track. This is maybe like the most realistic track that he has on this compound is this Arenacross track, and it's really, really tight. The whoop section is not too long, maybe what 9 whoops in there, and then this little like kind of scrub single to a triple. Even much smaller than what you'd see on a normal Arenacross track. Like they have at least 5 jumps in a row right there on a normal Arenacross track, but they have the 5 jumps in a row on this little back section right here, and then through this first corner. I mean, obviously the starting line kind of takes away a lot of the room on the track, so maybe that's what he's trying to like fit in, is that starting line at the end of the track definitely scales the whole track down a little bit. But yeah, overall, you know, pretty fun flowy Arenacross track, pretty easy to get the lines down. There's obviously the triple in double line right here, the alternate double and triple out line. So those are the only real options that you have. But yeah, overall, good little Arenacross track. It's not going to spend too much time on it, but I am going to say that that is going to be the end of us checking out the Squid Squad compound in MX Simulator. Be sure to download this track in the description below, and a shout out to Seth Garrett, J-Rye, for putting it together and showing it off for us to play. Cool little arrows on the ground here kind of show us the way around, it looks like. One way through the pits and one way only. But thanks to them for the track. Thanks to you guys for watching another video here on Start Your Systems. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please be sure to let me know in the comment section below, and I'd be happy to help you guys out. I'm going to exit the track, and I'm going to exit this video. Hopefully you guys have a great day wherever you are, and we'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.